Well, hello everybody. James at Dundas Junction. I see you're here. Hello. Hello, Dwight. John, how are you doing? At Schuylkill River Valley. Joe Rader, how are you, sir? JD, what's up down in Texas? I think I've caught everybody. For some reason, Prism Live is not showing me my chats. So I'm going to have to jump back and forth, I guess, between Prism Live and YouTube to see the chat. So, Boxcar Jerry, how are you? Thanks for coming. Ron, I did not expect you to be here. I thought you would be still traveling from Amherst. How was the show? Well, this is going to be pretty inconvenient having to jump back and forth to YouTube to see chat. But I'll make the best of it. Yeah, I hope he is on the train. Oh, you can't hear me, Dwight? Crap. Well, my microphone looks like it's working. I'm getting all the right signals. So you can't hear me now, Dwight? Is that what you're saying? I hope. I got to admit, sound has been a constant issue for me on this live streaming. Okay, John. Thank you, Ray. I appreciate that. I'm follically challenged, and so I always wear a hat, but I can't wear a hat tonight because it's just too darn hot. So I'll have to I'll have to go hatless here. Hey Al, how are you doing? Good to see you here. I feel like I've got two strikes against me already with a supposedly a good football game occurring at this time, as well as the end of the Amherst show. So I do appreciate everybody showing up. Hey JJ, how are you? I will kick this off right at the top of the hour with my presentation, and I apologize in advance if I don't tend to chat as much as I would like. Just because I'm going to have to jump in back and forth between Prism Live and YouTube to see the chat. Usually the chat feeds into Prism Live, but it is not feeding in right now. Hmm. I'm just checking some error messages to see if Try using Prism Chat from the source list. I'll be right with you all. I don't know whether that's going to work or not. Aha. I do have chat, but but it's on the screen, unfortunately, which is a little weird. Anthony Dodge, hello, welcome. Happy Valley Hobbies, Ed, how are you? Dave, BNSF and Scale, how are you tonight? I'm still getting over, was it Dwight scaring me about my audio? Darn it. But at least it looks like I am getting chat. It's a limited chat view, but I am seeing it at least. So. All right, well, it's 8 o'clock. I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to change over so that you all can see my screen. See my computer screen. And you're going to get to see the chat, unfortunately. I don't know how to. I guess I can move the chat over to part of the screen that. Well, hopefully that'll move over eventually. Well, at any rate, tonight I am going to be talking about the carbon black industry and how to model the carbon black industry. True enough, Ed. Always said nothing braver. I always say than a live demo. And for me, every live stream is a live demo of streaming technology and a bit of a problem. But on the screen, you see a shot of a carbon black hopper, and I'm going to have quite a few of these. I just thought the hatches on this one were particularly interesting. There's a string of about 10 of these hoppers that I photographed in 2022 in Coppell, Texas. Um, so we'll see a few of these as we're going through the presentation. Now I got a couple of other shots here. This was another shot from that particular day, February day in Texas when I took this, and I actually took that Tokai. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Hello, Randall. How are you? And I think I said hi to John Benicki, but if not, hi, John. Hello, David, DB Tech. I did take this Tokai carbon logo and digitize it so I can make some more Tokai hoppers down the road because they're not readily available, unfortunately. And here's kind of the classic roster shot, 3/4 view roster shot that I got when I was in Coppell. I think we'll see this later on in the presentation. So, what the heck is carbon black? Well, back in the day, this is what automobile tires looked like when they were made of natural rubber. They were, um, very soft, and they were not black. But someone figured out that if you had a mix 50-50 carbon black and rubber, you increase the durability of automobile tires by 107 times. Not 107%, 107 times more durable. And so this is the primary use of carbon black, and that is to manufacture tires. There are other uses, and I do not know what they are. So here is a schematic of the process, and this will be important, obviously, to modeling the industry, and also when we look at some of these photographs of plants that I have later on, you can see what there is. So feedstock oil is the primary ingredient for making carbon black, and that is a residual, very thick oil left over from the petroleum distillation process. It's it's sprayed actually into a reactor at a very high temperature. Um, it's then cooled in a cooling tower, and we'll see pictures of some of those as well. Um, and it comes out as a very fine, granular, they're spherical, little spherical bits, but they're really like dust or powder. Um, then they're accumulated and they're pelletized, they're aerated, they're put in storage, and then ultimately they are shipped by rail. So there are two rail aspects of this production. The incoming oil comes in by tank car, and then the outbound carbon black goes out in dedicated hopper service because it's a very dirty material. So they have dedicated cars. So this is a shot of it. I can't remember which plant this is. I think it's in Ponca, Oklahoma. Um, aha, Dave, very good. I thought that stuff might be Bakelite, though, Dave. I'm not sure. But at any rate, you can see the primary components of the system here. You can see the cooling towers. You can see the storage tanks are to the left. Those tall storage tanks are to the left. To the right, in the far right-hand corner, there's a blue load to the ground tank. That is a oil storage tank, and you can't really see the furnace. The furnaces are fairly low to the ground. But we'll take a look at a lot of different plants as we look at some of these pictures. So this is another shot, and we're going to be spending a lot of time on this particular plant because I believe this is the one that I'm going to try to model. And this is the Tokai plant in Borger, Texas. And in front of us, you can see in the center of the picture, you can see the storage tanks for the carbon black, and cars go underneath those tanks to be loaded. To the right, that kind of thing that looks like a toilet plunger. I thought maybe I could use a toilet plunger to model that, actually. Um, that is an accumulator, and it's where the pellets are aerated before they're put into the storage. There's some blades in there that beat it up and make it loose to go into storage. So I know charts and tables are not necessarily the basis of the most exciting presentation, but I wanted to talk a little bit about the scope of the industry, where it's located, and what era it's in, because you can, since the 20s, carbon black has been used in automobile tires. So unless you're modeling pre-1920s, you're modeling the Civil War era or something, carbon black is a material that you can model. And this chart that I'm showing you here was from 1996. It was the most recent one I could find, so it's not terribly recent. But you can see that there are plants in a lot of locations: Louisiana, Texas, West Virginia, Kansas, Arkansas, Ohio, even Los Angeles and Virginia. So there are a lot of plants around the country for you so you can model this industry in a lot of different places. One other interesting thing about this chart is that there are a couple of plants that make carbon black by burning animal bones. Unfortunately, although I wish they were rail served because the incoming loads of bones would be really interesting to model. Um, um, I did look at one of these. I think the Hoover plant in Hiwassee, Virginia. I looked at that on Google Earth, and it's too small. It's not rail served. So I have a feeling those particular plants are probably not modelable by us on our layouts. But at any rate, so again, the point of this was no matter what your era, as long as it's after 1920, and no matter what part of the country, you can probably model carbon black. You can certainly have it as through traffic, but you could actually model the plants almost anywhere. Now, this is another shot of the Continental Carbon plant. I believe this is the one in Ponca City, Oklahoma, and you can readily see all of the main ingredients for the plant. And interestingly, this is on its own dedicated spur off the main line. It's not on the main line itself. But up here at the top, you can see oil storage tanks. Here, I'm circling this with my cursor. Hopefully you can see that. This is the tank car unloading area. And you can see piping going from that over to the storage tanks and into the facility. Below that, you have carbon black cars, hopper cars being stored, as well as over here on this line here. This structure here with the fans is the furnace. And, it's hard to make out a lot of other details in this photograph. The cars are actually in this plant, the cars are loaded inside this building, so they go into this building here. But anyway, you can kind of see the basic ingredients of a carbon black factory. And here, using Google Earth's measuring a tool, the entire facility is about a half a mile long. So it's clearly going to need to be I don't know, Dave, if Continental Carbon is connected to the tire company. That would make sense. That would really make sense. But all right, so let's. This is a shot. I'll try and zoom in. Hopefully, I can make this a little bit bigger for you. This is a shot from Google Earth of the carbon black plants. There are two of them right across the street from each other in Borger, Texas, Borger, Borger, Texas. And reportedly, this site is visible with the naked eye from outer space. It's just a big black area of Earth. So, that would make a very cool industry to model with that black soil and all the black, everything is. And of course, this photograph is very difficult to make out a lot of details, but you can see here they use water in the cooling process, so they have these holding tanks holding the water that they use for the cooling process. Here are the oil storage tanks. We'll see those from ground level in a minute, and we saw some of this. The storage tanks are right here, and that accumulator, the densifier as it's called, is right here as well. But you can see there's a street running right between the two plants. So that really is helpful because I'm planning on building a shelf layout essentially, and a lot of the plant is visible from this highway, and so I only need probably a foot or 18 inches to model a huge amount of this facility. So it really is convenient. So but unfortunately, this Google Earth image is very dark, and there was not a lot of detail that could be picked up from it. So here is that highway, and over to the right here, you can see I guess I can't move it isn't picking everything up, but on the right is the Tokai facility. And there's that large accumulator that, well, there's actually two of them, and there's one further down. And you can see the Tokai hoppers lined up here, two rows. So I don't know. Yes, it's a complicated structure, but again, I don't think I'd have to model anywhere near all of it in order to capture the essence of this. And I would put my main line running down where the road is. So this is just another view of the facility. You can see the cooling towers in the background and some of these Tokai. They're reporting mark TCHX, obviously Tokai carbon. I don't know what the H is for, but so, and it's a pretty industrial, dirty facility creating a very dirty product. So that's attractive. Now here's a little further down the road. I should have figured out the yes, yes, Dave BNSF. It's going to be a lot of black weathering. That's right. Look at the weathering on that storage tank. For example, lots of things in this facility are just covered in soot, essentially. So, and this is the tank car unloading facility where the thick crude oil is offloaded into those storage tanks or directly into the facility for use in the production process. So, kind of interesting how the tracks are recessed below the surface of the road. The entire facility looks like, and I don't know if that might be for environmental protection purposes. So if they have leaks or something like that, the whole facility is a giant, containment area. I don't know. But it is kind of interesting how that's recessed. I wouldn't do that on a model because it would obscure the models. So back again, now that we've seen and learned a little bit more about these industries, you can now see appreciate a little bit more what's going on here. I thought it was interesting that they have these corrugated panels obscuring areas of the facility. So that's kind of convenient. It's easy to model a corrugated panel. uh, but I don't know, pretty interesting facility. And this is just more of just showing a little bit more of the details of the piping and everything. So here's the logo that I've managed to get off of one of those pictures, eliminate the black background, and create this Tokai emblem so that I can make decals and create a car like that, perhaps. Now these cars, and we'll get a picture of it later, these cars are lined with some sort of rubber bladder, I believe. Um, yeah, good point, Ed. This could be a black and white layout. um, yes, Ray, I do think it could be environmental how they've lowered things down like that in case there's some sort of a leak. There are some pretty, I'm sure there's some pretty nasty stuff involved in this process. But you'll notice the three outlets or inlets rather on the side of the hopper that they use to blow the contents out. I don't think that's unique to the carbon black industry. There are other hoppers that have this functionality, but um, but that's pretty cool, pretty nice, pretty interesting weathering that could make a nice model. So if anybody is an expert on hoppers and can tell me in the chat what model hopper that is, um, that would be great. I guess it says Centerflow on it, so I guess that tells me what brand it is. I could figure that out, I guess. But at any rate, and you can see there's a variety there's different styles of hoppers. There's a slab-sided hopper behind it. So It won't be all boring black. There'll be a little bit of variation that'll be appreciated by the cognoscenti, as they call us. And here's one of the warning placards that I thought was interesting, and I should be able to copy off this car without too much difficulty and replicate that on a model. So, but interesting little warning there. And I just thought this was interesting. Another a car with graffiti. I'm not sure we looked at one like that before. I'm a graffiti nut, and so they do have graffiti. Interesting rust. It looks like a good. Yes, Dave BNSF scale trains did do that back in 2018, and I have one in front of me here that I'll show you all in a minute. But unfortunately, at the time, I did not realize I was going to be modeling the industry, and so I only bought 2 or 3 cars. I think 3 cars, maybe 4 cars. So I'm going to be modeling a lot. Now here's back to our roster shot of the of that car where I got the logo from. Not from this picture. I took one at a 90-degree angle. So it was better, easier to make. And here, this is interesting. I'm sorry, the view here is not the. You're not seeing my entire monitor. You can see the car in the back is definitely an older style hopper. And again, this SHQX car with the very unusual hatches, I just thought would be good to model. So here is one of the models of carbon black cars. Yes, JJ, that's right. Um, they are pretty recent, and they do have the what are called conspicuity markings. Anthony, I do make my own decals. It's going to be a challenge to make white decals. Um, because most printers do not print white. They don't have white ink, and so even a color printer. And so you either have to get white decal paper, which I could do, um, but I'm still going to have to do some print black, then put the decal on and blend the black into the side of the car. So I might send off and have them made after I've done the artwork. That's interesting, Randall. They're completely sold out on their website. At least the HO scale ones are completely sold out. So, and I haven't seen them on eBay, and I didn't see them on that website that Dave shared, HO Seeker, I think it was called, on his last stream. I didn't see that. Anthony, I use a printer at FedEx Kinko's. I go over to FedEx Kinko's. And I've got halfway through production a track geometry boxcar project, and the decals did not come out well that I made for that. And I think that's because I went to UPS and had them printed instead of FedEx. But yeah, I just go to a commercial place and print them. That way, I think they're pretty crisp. I mean, I've done data for HO containers, completely legible and in scale. So you definitely can do that on your own. Good point, Ed. You're very observant. I have no idea how long those cars were sitting there. It's really right out in the open. It was not a protected area at all when I was doing that rail fanning. But good observation. Good observation. So here is from the 40s and 50s. There's a carbon black car from Funaro and Camerlengo. That's worse than Pohoy, Karankawa, and Western. But yeah, Anthony, I love doing decals. It's probably one of my favorite part of the hobby is decorating with decals and making my own decals. So kind of a freak about that. Now, Athearn also did a carbon black hopper, and I ordered one of these off the dreaded eBay, and it was supposed to arrive yesterday, and of course, it did not. So I thought I was going to have that one to show you, but I don't. And the one I got was a kit, so that'll at least be a start. I don't remember what the markings were on that. It is pre-decorated, um, but at any rate, that's good to know. And there were 3 or 4 of those on eBay, so I could end up with getting a few more of those as well. So as quite a few folks have mentioned, Scale Trains did these in 2018, and they a large variety of them, and so I don't have my overhead camera set up yet, unfortunately, but I am going to switch over at least to switch to a different view. There we go. So that I can show you this Scale Trains. It's from their damaged handrail section, selection or brand. I mean, rivet counter. I'm sure I'm going to break off pieces of this thing when I put it on the layout, but so be it. So sorry, it's difficult without overhead to share this, but there it is. So it's one of those older straight-sided cars. I think you can see that there. And this is a Sid Richardson car. And I really started getting interested in carbon black when I was rail fanning in Texas a lot, and I would see Sid Richardson cars. Some of them had huge placard kind of billboard look to them that DB Tech would love. I've got to put this down out of your sight for a minute to get it out of the packaging. So there it is. I know because it's black, it's difficult to see all the details, but the areas where they apply the pressurized air to empty the car are really well done. Recessed fittings in there. I mean, it's typical Scale Trains rivet counter quality. You can see, etched metal walkway. A little dated, a little outside my era. I'll have to apply conspicuity markings to it, which I do have in abundance. Sorry, I'm trying to put this away gently without breaking it. There we go. All right, let me go back to my my other view. I can at least see the chat as well. All right. So I'm just going to skip through. That was kind of really the end of my formal presentation, but there were a couple of other cars that I thought were interesting. I think I've got some shots. Well, here's a picture of that older. I mean, this is probably even older than the car that I just showed you, and so I think I certainly can legitimately use the Sid Richardson Carbon Company car if I want to. However, I think these cars are kind of in dedicated service. The Sid Richardson cars only work the Sid Richardson plant. And thank you, Dave. And so I'm not sure I'll be able to use them at the Tokai plant. Uh, and I can't remember which company I got. The other ones I got, I don't think were Sid Richardson. But at any rate, let's see what else we've got here.
Well, I did a review.
Well,
of
this
some
was
HO
just
carbon
you can
black
get an
cars.
idea of
And
what
here are some actual cars
the scene when I was doing this
parked on
rail
the
fanning
siding
back in 22.
in Coppell, Texas. Now they're not Sid Richardson
All alone out
cars,
there on
but
a
they're
Saturday or
definitely
Sunday
carbon
morning, I
black
think.
service
But that's
freight
kind of the
cars.
string of cars that I saw. I was
And
thrilled.
they're super
Thrilled to see them.
interesting. A lot of variety of car type as well as markings.
So there's another, that's a different warning or a different information placard than the other car. So, and that's the car with those interesting patches on the top. That would be a major. Not sure I'm up for that. Recreating that car. So that's interesting. It's been rebadged. Can't really tell. That looks a lot like the Sid Richardson car that I have, so I could potentially cover it over and apply conspicuity markings to it and be good to go. Now, I don't know if this was, I assume because it's hooked up with these carbon black cars, this was used in that service as well. And I don't know what this is and why this is here. I did see some lighter colored hoppers in some of the overhead views, some of the plants that I looked at. I don't know what they're used for, you know, but I'm guessing it's still in the same. It's related to the industry. And I always try to get the other side of the cars whenever I'm out there. So I don't know. This is a better shot of the Ponca, Oklahoma plant than I showed during the main presentation. You know, JJ, I don't know. I wonder about those hatches, but I think they're just snaking a dispensing tube down into the hatches of the cars and loading. It's kind of a manual process. I don't know though. So yeah, it's not as high volume industry as say, power plant unloading, you know, hundreds of coal cars, things like that. I don't think it's that kind of a situation. But well, there you have it. That is carbon black in a nutshell. And I certainly I'm I'm reading Ron's comment here. Never try to print decals. Yeah, I don't know, Ron. As I said, I only print at on a big commercial printer at a FedEx Kinko's. I've never had an issue with the decal paper feeding. Now, admittedly, I have not been trying to feed white decal paper through. I've only been putting blank decal paper through, which might be thinner. I don't know if that could be the problem. So it sure does look like a carbon black. Thank you for that info on the reporting marks, Dave. I appreciate that. All right, be safe out there, Randall. Thanks for stopping by and giving us the real railroader perspective, as you always do. Much appreciated. So, unfortunately, I have underestimated the amount of time it was going to take me to talk about this, and so, or overestimated rather, and so I no longer have any more canned presentation. I am going to try and I'm going to talk briefly about one other industry, and I only have. That's a good question, Sparky. It does seem crazy, doesn't it? They're probably cheaper. NS Norfolk Southern is going by my shop right now. You can see the lights of the locomotives passing by. Um, I don't know what it is, but what's next for the PK&W, JD? Next is doing, and I apologize. I promised you all I was going to have a basic layout plan together for this presentation, and I failed. I have spent some time with John Armstrong's book about the squares business, as he calls it, and to figure out how much railroad you can fit in your space and that sort of thing. So my next thing is to get a basic plan together for bench work and then to build bench work. And I think I've lucked out because there's a guy who lives next door to my shop here who's a roofer, but he's also a general handyman, and I think I can recruit him to help me build the bench work, just to have another set of hands. John, I've never heard of that company. I've always used Micromarks decal paper. Always been okay. But I know you do a good job with decals, and I'm taking your advice to use Krylon as the clear coat over the next set of decals I do, because I used Montana Black lacquer, I think, to do my last sheet, and that fragmented badly. It was really bad. Well, Dave, I am not planning a layout that will completely fill this space because I realize I have a very finite amount of time in order to do it, you know? Um, I'm going to do an island layout, and I want to say, and it's going to be a shelf layout, so, and a dog bone track plan. And it is going to be just snake around in this space behind me here. So I have one wall that is 78 feet long. So I'll probably run straight down that wall. I'm not going to be mounting it to the wall, but it'll be an island. But I'm going to essentially run down that wall and have a 50-foot run that way, and then I'll just have a couple of, maybe a Z shape or something like that. I think I want to have a portion of the layout be visible when people come into the space. When they come in the front door, I want them to see layout. And, and that's probably where I'll build my intermodal yard because I think that'll be visually interesting. Although obviously the carbon black facility would also be pretty interesting. Um, yes, it is a pretty big, it's not as big as steel. I don't think there's any question. I think those steel plants are huge. This particular plant, Sparky, is half a mile from the beginning of the track out here to all the way down past the end of this. So, not that that's small, but it's not as big as some industries. Yeah. So the other industry I wanted to just mention briefly, and I'll try and find a picture of this. I do have a picture of this facility, and I think it's worth studying. But it is not as ubiquitous as carbon black, right? As I showed you, uh, yeah, be careful about how much space you get, right, John? I'm gonna. My plan is, and here you guys critique my plan, please. But my plan is to. This is going to be relatively flat layout because it's set in the Gulf Coast, and as you saw, there are plenty of carbon black facilities in the Gulf Coast. Why? Because there's plenty of petroleum on the Gulf Coast as well, plenty of refining going on and that sort of thing. There's also coal, steel, intermodal. Obviously, there's tons of shipping. The Port of Houston is one of the bigger ports in the country. So there's tons of industries to model in that area, but it's going to be basically flat terrain. Uh, and my plan is to build the bench work, get it skinned with a 1/4 inch plywood sheet, put a 2 inch foam top on top of that because, as I've mentioned, this building was a beer distributorship, and there's a room. It was built in 1985, I think, as a gunsmith shop, and the machine shop for the gunsmith was converted into a cooler for the beer. And so what they did to do that was they cut off the heating and air conditioning. They installed a dedicated cooler, which they took when they left. And then they lined the walls of that cooler room with 2 layers of, it's either 1.5 inch or 2 inch thick pink foam insulation board. So I'm going to peel that, and it comes off in pretty good sized chunks. So I think I'm going to be able to use the foam that was the insulation for the coolers to cover the entire layout with a sheet of foam. Well, it's 78 feet long, and it's about, I don't know, it's about 20 feet wide, 25 feet wide. I left my drawing of this space at home because I was trying to get a plan done before this call, but I failed. But it's 2,000 square feet. So I want to say it's about 20 feet wide, maybe a little bit more. So I should be able to turn. And I'm planning on doing, it's a modern era layout. I'm going to be running some big equipment. And so I'm going to start, my initial plan is going to be with 48-inch radius. And I'm not going to go smaller than, I think, a size 8 turnout, except maybe in a yard. I'll have to see what happens there. But I'm not 100% sure about that. Again, it will be a little bit of an issue of space, but that's kind of the plan for the layout. So I want to build the bench work, and I have a lot of extra wood from some of the things I had to take apart here, so I can rip 2x4s down to 2x2s for legs. So I'll just be out buying L girder stuff, 1x2, 1x3, 1x4, whatever I decide to use to make the L girders, and some of the cross members on it. So that's kind of the plan for the bench work. I will do L girder that way. As my plan evolves and I want to build a wider section of the layout, maybe I need a wider section of the layout for the carbon black plant, for example. I'll be able to just make new L girders and get myself another foot or whatever I need in order to make an industry or a yard. But I have a ton of intermodal equipment. I've modeled a lot of containers. And I want to do, I'm very excited about doing a modern rubber-tired gantry crane or for the small container yard that I want to build. So those are two industries I definitely want to put on the lab. Again, totally freelanced, so whatever I want to do, wherever I want to put them, is going to be what they be. So the other industry I wanted to mention briefly is the boron industry, boron, boron, and you all are probably, hang on. Knowing my fascination with this industry, one of my brothers sent me this 20 Mule Team Borax hat. So you probably are familiar with Boraxo and the 20 Mule Team drawing on there. And so boron is mined in Kern County, Kern, Kern County, California. And oh, that's right, Sparky. I had read that was used in inks. The vast majority of it is used in the production of automobile tires. 50% of a car tire is carbon black. But that's right. I did read that it was used in making inks. That does make some sense, right? Black ink. So the 20 Mule Team, they used to have to go out across the desert with this mule team with a train essentially of wagons that included one tank of water to keep the mules and the people alive as they went across this desolate landscape. And I'm sure at some point they built rails to go out there. But right now there is rail operation there. But it's very unique, right? It's unique if you're not modeling the high desert, the Mojave Desert, essentially, which is a wonderful place. I love that, and the Tehachapi Loop is out there. Cajon Pass is there. It's a great place. So if you're ever in Southern California, you need to make that trip up to Tehachapi. You can see the loop. There's some great vantage points to watch trains. And it's not too far to go to Cajon Pass and see some trains there. Let me see. I'm going to see if I can find. I've got a couple of pictures here, I'm pretty sure. But one of the tricks about the boron industry is that you've got that mine, and it's just a huge, whoops. Okay. I'm trying. I don't know why this won't open up. Well, sorry about that. I cannot, this does not seem to want to open up. I have a feeling perhaps my computer's resources are being strained by. Yes. I think Prism Live is locked up on me. It will not allow me to go back to my webcam view. So I'm forced to stick with his view. I apologize. It won't. My system is not responding. Oh well. So at any rate, there is, boron is used in a lot of things besides boraxo. It is used in uh, computer screen, tablet screen, cell phone screens and things like that. It has a lot of interesting uses. So, but there are covered hoppers in use there. It's a big open pit mine, huge. So if Steve 87th is here, it would be a great opportunity for him to build some of those huge dump trucks and things that they have there. So, so, but again, I highly recommend if you're ever in that area to pay a visit to the boron mine out there in Kern County. It's spectacular. The whole family will enjoy going because of the history. They have some huge tires from some of the trucks that you can pose in and kids can play in and things like that. So it's okay. I can try that. If I take it off the screen, I won't be able to see it, but I will do that. I can't get into the program is not responding to mouse clicks. So I can't I can't take the chat off the screen, unfortunately. Yeah, not responding. I'd have to probably close Prism Live. This happened just before the stream started, and I had to go to Task Manager and close Prism Live and reopen it in order to get the system to respond. So apologize for that, but we're only 10 minutes from the finish line anyway. So I hope you enjoyed that little discussion about carbon black and my little sidetrack into boron and the boron industry. I think that I need to get into Google Earth and take a look at that plant from above and see. But I know when I was there several years ago, there were definitely covered hoppers in use at a minimum. So, an interesting place. At this point, I don't even know if I'm getting an update on the chat. Doesn't seem like I am. Yes, it is updating. Well, thank you, Dave. True enough, JD. There would have to be glitches, and boy, I got to tell you, this the whole live streaming adventure has been a lot more of a challenge than I thought it was going to be. It really has been a tech challenge for me, and I didn't think. I don't know whether it's the software. I know this is a relatively old computer, but it's still an i7 processor with a decent amount of RAM. So I don't really know why it's doing what it's doing. Thank you, Ron. Ron, how was Amherst, and did you pick up anything cool? I'd love to hear about. I'm gonna go there next year. Oh, I'm glad you enjoyed that, John. It is an interesting rail-served industry. I can honestly say I don't think I've seen any carbon black cars here in Pennsylvania, but I saw them in Texas all the time, all the time. One of the I don't know if it's rail served or ever was rail served, but there's an interesting place and industry in Kansas. And the place is Hutchinson, Kansas, or Hutch, as it's called by the residents. I've got a buddy who lives there. And that place has got salt mines. Kansas was back in prehistoric times, the dinosaur days, it was an ocean, a saltwater ocean. And so there's a huge deposit of salt there. And Morton Salt was started in Hutchinson, Kansas. And it's place of considerable wealth. It's a small town, but a place of considerable wealth, right in the middle of Kansas, in the middle of nowhere. And there still are salt mines there. I believe they're converting them over to like record storage facilities and things like that. And I'm sure they had an internal rail system moving the salt up out of the mines. I want to say the mines are like 650 feet below the surface. So it's very interesting. So why do I want to model carbon black? Because it is an incredibly cool looking industry. It'll be a great modeling challenge. And because it is different. It's one of those very important products that nobody knows about. And the cars are cool. The weathering opportunities are massive. It's just, to me, it's really interesting on a number of fronts. So, Dave, you say you've been in the mines. Was that in Hutchinson or elsewhere? Glad you had a good time, Ron. Just catching up with your comments. Glad you enjoyed it. Uh, Tammy from Mom and Son Rail Fans posted a lot of videos. I really felt like I was there. Good point, JJ. I believe you're right. It is very dry. Um, yeah, they're just trying to find something to use with them. I don't think they're actually producing any salt there anymore. So maybe it's all mined out. I don't really know. I didn't see any signs of major industry going on in Hutch anymore. Just old money. Your KC. Okay. Well, I can see I'm going to have my work cut out for me to figure out my live streaming tech again here. I don't think I have a lot of programs open. I try to shut things down to not be taxing the memory on my system, but uh, is that in Canada, James? Serena, I didn't share a picture, but there was a carbon black car on eBay that was a Canadian company. They mentioned Canada in the placard on the side of the car. So, uh, so I know there is. So you too could model carbon black if you wanted to in Canada. Well, thanks, JD. I try. But my next show is going to be in about 2 weeks, and so I'm not sure. Good point, Sparky. I probably could do that, or a tablet. I could use my tablet and see the last time I streamed. The last two times I streamed, I could see the chat in Prism Live. It was no issue. This time, it's a problem. I don't know why. Yeah, Ray. I just bought a new computer. It's not massively powerful, but it's more powerful than the one I use here. But I was leaving that one at home so that I could create at home and do things at home. Otherwise, I have my computer here, my other computer here. So I probably need to do a disk defrag and try to free up some memory on here. But so be it. So be it. So on the 16th is my next stream. I don't know who has the 9th, but I believe that will conflict with the Super Bowl. So, um, but I think that's when the Super Bowl is. Maybe it's the 16th, and it's my problem. But I hope by then I will. I'm going to have an overhead camera set up. I tried to get that done today, and instead I ended up working on the drywall here at the shop and trying to get a wall finish. That is the wall that is the background where my wife records her YouTube videos. So I know where my priorities are. So I got that wall pretty much ready to paint. I'm sure I'll be able to paint it tomorrow. And she's going to be recording another video tomorrow. So hopefully I can get that done early enough in the day. So thank you, Ed. Thanks for coming. I'm going to go ahead and I will sign off at 9 since I'm out of my pre-planned material. But next time I'm going to have an overhead camera and I'll probably do some modeling. I've got a couple, one of the other, the quote unquote intermodal yard that I'm going to build is also going to have auto rack unloading and loading going, or unloading going on. And so probably loading, given where it is, right? A lot of cars come into the Gulf Coast ports to be shipped. So I'll probably be loading cars onto some auto racks. And so I have two of those A-line ramps for loading cars, loading automobiles into the auto racks. So I may build those online while we chat. So, so all right. Well, hey, I really. Oh, did Tammy just come in? Hello, Tammy. Thank you. I mentioned your videos earlier and how you were keeping us informed. I feel like I was almost at Amherst. Not enough that I'm not going to actually go next year, but that was really nice. That was, and I could tell how much fun Ray was having. Outstanding, outstanding experience for him, and thank you for sharing that. Oh, Ed was there too. Man, I met a bunch of people at Timonium. I was so glad. I'm so glad I went to Timonium in the fall. And I'm sure Amherst will be the same. It will be a great it'll be a great experience. So I am looking forward to that. If is anyone planning on going to the NMRA National Convention in Novi, Michigan? I think it's outside Detroit. I often go to the NMRA, but I haven't really planned to go this year, which is kind of silly because it is within driving distance. Usually isn't within driving distance. Um, the other convention I'm definitely going to go to is Timonium. Oh, come on, Sparky. I met you there. You know exactly where Timonium is, you joker. Um, the other thing I'm going to go to this year, because again, it's within driving distance, is um, the International Plastic Modeler Society Convention, which is going to be held. If the NMRA is in July, the IPMS is in August usually, and that is going to be in Virginia Beach. And so that's not trains. There will be some train models there, no question about it. But that's every kind of model you can imagine, figures, all different scales. Um, I used to be the president of IPMS Richmond in Richmond, Virginia, and we did a bunch of events with the guys down in the Tidewater branch who are the hosts for the IPMS show this year. They're great guys, and they put on a great show. So that's the other show that I'm going to go to. Is anybody in chat got any other shows or any events this spring and summer that they're going to do? I know that there's another Timonium show in February, right, Ray? Next weekend. I see you said that in chat. Sorry, Ray, I missed that. So okay, yeah, I won't be there. That's right. And I'm pretty confident I'm coming to the meet and greet, Sparky. But it does conflict with another model show, not a train show, but it conflicts with the AMPS show, which is in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. AMPS is the Armor Modeling and Preservation Society, and it's the biggest meeting of military vehicle modelers in the country. Great guys, great guys. Um, oh, I didn't realize Timoni was 3 times. Wow. But if I have to choose between the two, I'll probably do the meet and greet. Um, can I bring my spouse, Sparky? Because I don't think she would forgive me if I got that close to Niagara Falls and I didn't take her back to Niagara Falls and do uh, and enjoy the culinary things in Buffalo, like wings and the sponge candy that they do. They have some regional things that are great. So hopefully spouses are welcome. I want to say, it's like a 90-minute, 2-hour drive, so very doable for me to get to the meet and greet. Family friendly. Okay. It's interesting that you say family friendly. I got a comment on one of my videos a couple of days ago where someone said they really liked my video, but because I had used a curse word, they were not going to subscribe to my channel. I don't think I'm a potty mouth, but very cool. Very cool dining car, Sparky. I like that. Yeah, no, the video that if that's to me about my last video, no, it was my how to assemble. I did a series about a spray booth assembly, and it was the one about assembling the spray booth. I don't know what I said. Hilarious though. The dining car experience sounds great. Obviously, I have an interest in that based on my video about the raisin pudding recipe. So I will be eating in the dining car for sure. For sure. Are you serious, Sparky? Are they taking over the meet and greet? Is Tammy taking over the meet and greet? I never know whether to take you seriously or not, Sparky. Good night, JD. Okay, this will be your last one. Well, that's the end of an era. I know Tammy will do a great job, but that is the end of an era. I have to go. I have to go in May. The last Sparky hosted meet and greet goes without saying. Wow, I'm in shock. Ray, I can't imagine you uh, cursing a blue streak. I just can't imagine that. You're just too nice a guy, too happy a person. Very hard to imagine. You've got such a ready smile, ready laugh. I'm stubbornly still trying to open. Well, I better not do that. When I open Task Manager, I lose everything. Hello, Closet Branch. We're just finishing up here. What are you doing at the canyon, Ron? Are you taking that train they have there? I lived in Phoenix for a while, so I used to go to the canyon occasionally. Um, didn't always make it past Flag, but Flag is great. They have a passenger station there. There's rail through there, so it was a good place to visit. Okay, Ron. I forgot he was a Navy guy. A salty sailor. Very funny. All right. Well, I think I'm going to go ahead and shut the stream down. Thank you so much for coming, uh, for and putting up with the technical difficulties. Yeah. Oh, you did 20 years in Flag. Wow, that's a great place. I really enjoy Flag. It's got a lot of good food, great access to the outdoors, amazing. Good night, Ed. The western side. I thought it was like the south and the north. Those were the two sides. But you mean the developed side. The northern side is not very developed, right? So no duck, James. That's right. I'm paying the price for not using the duck. I guess my first stream was on OBS. My second stream was on Prism Live. Maybe my third stream will be on StreamYard. I do not know. So, all right, Joe. You have a great week as well, sir. Thank you, John. Thanks for coming. Really appreciate your attendance. Appreciate everybody attending, and I hope you have a great week. And I will see you all online on other streams and on the 16th for my next Sidetrack Sunday. But until then, take care and keep